Hello everybody, this is Obi, aka 3X, and welcome to episode 4 of Weekly Upload Update Volume 2. As it is that I had mentioned in the previous episode, in the last episode, I've re-uploaded the majority of the older creations that I had previously uploaded a second time for the benefit of those of you out there who did not have any of the pre-order DLC that of course was made available I believe over the course of the last 2 weeks, that being the Seen Enough pack, which was 2 versions of John Cena, Batista, and Rob Van Dam, and then of course the Kurt Angle pre-order packs. That limited people from being able to download Haley Jonas, Chanel, Jamie Fury, Sarah Warfield, Sin Callahan, Tadako Togo, Yuriko, and Veretta Vendetta. Now that content is readily available, you should be able to get this stuff. So all of these CAWS have been uploaded a second time. And just to clarify to you, I'll show you the details. Veretta Vendetta had DLC. Yuriko didn't actually, but I re-uploaded her anyway, as a package deal, so to speak. Tadako Togo also featured DLC from either of those 2 packs. Sin Callahan also featured DLC. Sarah Warfield also featured DLC, as did Haley Jonas. And Chanel did not feature DLC. Now, one note to make here regarding Jamie Fury is that the previous version that I had of her had DLC from the Seen Enough and Kurt Angle packs. Now she features DLC content from 3 packs, potentially. That being the Seen Enough, the Kurt Angle, and she also has some new moves courtesy of Lars Sullivan and Drew McIntyre from the NXT pack that just released this past Tuesday. So if you don't have that DLC, you won't be able to get to her. But like I said before, I'm going to be using DLC content on my creations. I will not be making non-DLC movesets. So that's the way that it is. Be forewarned when it is that you try to regain her for a second time. You'll notice, however, that Alexia Leone is missing from this particular list. That's because I've obviously replaced her with the lady that is to the right of Jamie Fury, that you'll be taking a closer look at in a couple of seconds. Sonya Robbins remains on and available because, geez, she's got 585 downloads. That's kind of amazing. She's pretty popular. Alexia was pretty popular too, but I had to replace her because I had requests for Kimiko, so I decided I wanted to add her on. And yeah, she is not alone as far as new creations that are both completed and available. I've just not scrolled down to them because I'm going to give you a closer look. That's the point of this video right here. So, without any further ado, let's get into that. And of course, like I already said, we will kick things off this week with the former XWA Pearl Champion Kimiko. And yeah, she pretty much retains most of the look that she had from previous versions of the creation, because she has one of those looks that's just kind of universal and something that I don't usually deviate from for obvious character-related reasons. Main element, of course, is the angry Hello Kitty logo, which at one point was not an angry Hello Kitty logo until I put those 2 angry slant lines on her eyeballs to make her look like she's pissed off, which is the point, you know. She's cute, But don't get her mad, because then she'll knock your head off. You see that same element here on the belt buckle element thingy. Not quite a belt buckle, but you get the idea. And then a white variation on the actual skirt itself. The Go-Go Kimiko logo that you see here, and also on the back of her shirts, is an element that I made many moons ago. 2K14, I believe it was, whenever it was that we were able to first import actual photos and logos into the game for creation. This is a font that I found on defont.com. And this is also way before I found out about styles that you could use in Photoshop to really make elements pop out. But I decided to keep it plain as it is, because if I put a style on it, it would take away too much from the Hello Kitty logo, which I wanted to be the main element, the thing that pops out the most. So there you have it. You'll also notice on the skirt we have a plaid design that is just basically wrapped around and manipulated to make it look like it's a plaid skirt, even though obviously it's not. Interestingly enough, they don't have patterns still for creating actual wrestlers. They exist in the create a belt and create arena modes, but not in creating a wrestler. That would make my life that much easier as far as making the skirt. But we have the wrap function, which is the next best thing. The only problem is that it doesn't wrap around the way that I wanted it to, so I had to use a couple of other separate plaid logos and put them at angles to kind of make it look like it's taking up that space there. From a distance, you don't really notice it, but it's there, just for your need to know. So yeah, basically, she's always maintained this kind of schoolgirl-ish look that stems back from when it is that I had made her in previous generations as a member of a tag team known as Class Act, which was basically a schoolgirl-based tag team, to which I separated them and put her out on her own, which is just a glorified way of me saying that after a while I just stopped making Alexia Leone. That of course changed last year, and boy has she gone under a major metamorphosis, but we still keep Kimiko the way that she is because she's that type of personality. She's basically the amalgamation of every Japanese anime schoolgirl character ever created. That being the super cute, annoying ones, and also, to an extent, the super violent ones as well. Because when you get on her bad side, she can get pretty damn aggressive. You haven't seen that aggressive side yet, but you will over the course of the 2018 season. I will guarantee you that much. You'll notice here, also, that the hairstyle is slightly different. I went with the new pigtail for the primary attire. The one that I typically use is on her secondary attire. Just wanted to kind of make a little bit of a differentiation in the hairstyles while maintaining that same element. If you can recall, last year I didn't actually do what I wanted to do with her hair because the hair dye just doesn't agree with that other style for some strange reason, specifically the colors that I wanted to use. So we switched it up here, and it still has that signature Kimiko schoolgirl look. And yeah, this is one of those examples, like I've said in previous videos, of a look that stands the test of time and doesn't necessarily need any variation to it. So that's what I keep on doing with her. Maybe at some point in time I might give her a different attire or a different look, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. So this is what you got. That being said, let's look at the alternate attire now. So here is Kimiko's alternate attire with the old school pigtails there. And obviously there's a bit of a lot of a differentiation between primary and secondary attires. Whereas the primary attire is more of a schoolgirl look, this would be kind of sort of like Kimiko's after hour gear, you know, the whole club kid glitter pixie look. That's still what they call them, right? I think. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been clubbing. Used to be my scene, but then, you know, you grow up, you get old, out of shape, and you stop doing that kind of stuff. I mean, I still listen to the music plenty, but as far as actually going out, it hasn't happened in a while. Maybe I might do that at some point in time in the future. But yeah, I'm getting off topic here. The idea here basically is taken from some different attires that I have seen online through Google image searches, and I've usually tried to make a kind of Nico girl look for her. I affectionately nicknamed this alternate attire Nico Kimiko. You'll see in more detail when I show you the entrance gear why that is. But the actual function of this attire is that it is in fact her tag team gear for whenever it is that I pair her up with Madison Starr, whose alternate attire matches this exact same design, as in the same exact design elements are used on hers as you see here, with these kind of like fluorescent fractal designs with the stars and stuff like that going on. So they have an actual universal tag team gear for whenever it is that they pair up with each other. The only problem I have with this attire, unfortunately, is the fact that even though they are neon and fluorescent colors, as you will see here, they don't show up in black light. That's because they're not actually in-game assets, like the actual, gloves and primitive design textures and such like that. I hope that's something that they actually make happen in future versions of the game, where you can actually make fluorescent custom logos. But that's probably way, way far down the line, if it's even possible at all with the technology. And that's saying something, considering the fact that, you know, PS4 and Xbox One are supposed to be the best technology that console games has ever seen. So we'll see about that. I would definitely push that to the limit, that's for sure. But yeah, just a small little gripe there. Not that much of a big deal, but just one of those things that really would have made this attire stand out even more than it already does. But what can you do? Anyway, let me show you the alternate entrance attire now. And so now you can pretty much see the idea of where it is that I came up with the nickname of Nico Kimiko, because yeah, she's got a lot of furry stuff going on here. And last year, incoming gripe, I was able to actually add the kind of fur sleeve coat thing on, as well as the hat here. But it's another case of one of those things that you were able to do in 2K17 that you can't combine in 2K18. I have no idea if this is a glitch or if it was an intentional change that they made. I couldn't tell you, but it's kind of sucky, the fact that I can't make those things happen the way that I did last year, because, you know, then that forces you to have to make changes that you didn't think that you needed to make. You know, this is the same case as Lorena's mask, for example, or just the fact that you can't use any long hair with lucha masks, whereas you could last year. It's mind-numbing, and obviously something that I adapt to, but You know, it just sucks the fact that it's something that has to be adapted to. So, no coat, but she does have the furry hat with the ears and the Kanye shades, and of course the cattail in that bright blue. I was messing around with other colors, and blue just seemed to have complemented the actual designs a little better than the other colors in the design, like yellow and pink and such like that. And green would have been a little loud, so we go with the powder blue instead. And yeah, it still pretty much conveys the fact that this is a very, very high-spirited and free-spirited young lady, and possibly on some kind of stimulants. Natural stimulants, of course. You don't pop pills. It's just caffeine and taurine. Plenty of Red Bull and Monster in that system. But anyway, that is Kimiko 2K18 for you. And now, at long last, we get to some actual male competitors. And when it is that I decided it was time for me to start working on the men's roster, these guys here are exactly the ones that I knew I was going to work on first, because I wanted to see what it was that I could pull off, specifically with the body morphing with these particular characters. And oh boy, as you can clearly see right here, the results are nothing short of amazing. This gentleman right here, of course, is Undisputed Ethan Ulrich, the 2018 version. And yeah, he looks 10 times as ominous and menacing and massive as he did in 2K17. And you can obviously see that the new morphing is paying dividends as far as his physique, because he is large and even closer now to the genuine article that he was originally modeled after, that being the bodybuilder that goes by the name of Martin Ford, that I based the character on in many elements, as far as his appearance, his physique, even the style of tattoos that he has. Even though obviously it's not 100% spot on, but you know, it's a variation of such. I first saw Martin Ford watching the last Undisputed movie, and yeah, that prompted me to make a character that was based off of his look, at least. And as far as his actual attitude, that's more closer to another heavily tattooed white guy that's appeared in a game that involves a ring, that being Isaac Frost. You might remember him as the main antagonist in the story mode for Fight Night Champion. Yeah, that attitude, that kind of persona is definitely the type of dude that Mr. Ulrich would be. Really, really cocky, overconfident in himself, but has the means and the tools to back it up. So yeah, there you see the combination once again of different elements from different sources that leads to the creation of a brand spanking new character that is already making an impact. And he was one of my most downloaded characters over the course of 2K17, so naturally I wanted to bring him back as quickly as possible, and yeah, we pulled that off. You'll notice some brand new elements on his attire as opposed to last year, and that goes in part the fact that we have that old rap function again. The chest tattoo here, which last year was 4 different logos put on his torso, is now all just one logo. I took all 4 of those tattoos and put them together in one ping file, uploaded it, and that one element is now here, represented in 4 places. And the best part about it is that it did not lose any of its image quality whatsoever. So you can actually see the text on the pectoral and on the abs, to which on his right pec there is the quote from Genghis Khan, which is the greatest happiness is to vanquish your enemies, to chase them before you, to rob them of their wealth, to see those dear to them bathed in tears, to clasp to your bosom their wives and daughters. That's a very pleasant thing to have tattooed on you. You know, you see that, you know this guy's obviously got some aggression to him. Also, as I pointed out last year, that was paraphrased into one of the more infamous quotes in the beginning of Conan the Barbarian. Yeah, it was taken from Genghis Khan. There's quite a few badass quotes that man made over the course of his lifetime that have been immortalized in many other forms of media. And then you see here the other elements. You got kind of a spade here made out of skull and bones. This here, power, respect, loyalty, honor, and pride. Some of those values he doesn't necessarily follow by anymore. I guess that must have been a tattoo that he got very, very early in his life before he changed into the person that he is now, which is pretty self-serving, I would say. Then you got kind of a Viking logo here. I wanted to keep a kind of sort of Norse theme for him, considering his last name. So we stuck with that type of vibe. And I'm contemplating at some point in the future, not anytime soon, because the clean cut look here really stands out for him. But I have contemplated at some point an edit to actually give him facial hair, you know, like an actual Viking beard. But that would be one of those passage of time things that I decide on doing, which isn't going to be anytime soon, but just for the purpose of kind of differentiating his look from that of Magnus von Schwartz, who is also a chrome dome, clean beam look, to give him facial hair, and maybe actually grow his hair out. Give him one of those blonde crew cuts like Brock Lesnar. Because there's a little bit of Brock Lesnar in spirit in his overall look and persona. Anyway, there's the back tattoo, once again. And again, it has that kind of Norse type of look and feel to it, maintaining to his lineage, so to speak. He's actually from Chicago, but you know, just subtle elements there. And then, as we take a look down here, he's actually got some logo work going on the tights, because the fact that I freed up 3 whole slots by making his chest tattoo into one specific piece, that actually made me able to make some actual logo designs for his ring gear. And so we have the name logo on the front and the skull spade logo on the back. I went with that because it's a simplistic design, but still very, very distinctive. And most of his other ink work is just a wee bit too complex to convert into a logo. That being the arms in particular, of course, which are all, once again, artwork from a gentleman by the name of Dizio Olivier. It was his work that originally spawned me into deciding to make these really, really kind of ornate tattoo designs for a lot of the newer characters that I have made. I've used his work also with Abigail Rooker and a few others, like so many right now that I can't even name them. But yeah, And the level to detail, I've already said it a billion times already, so you already know if you've watched these videos already. But it shows. It definitely shows. And it basically completes the look. And what a look it is. This guy here is quite intimidating. Let's go down to the boots real quick so I can show you that too. Basically the skull spade logo on the boots there. Nothing too fancy. So now let's take a look at the Ultimate. So since I was able to actually create logos for his ring gear, that prompted me to actually having a need to create an alternate ring gear, which is not so much of an alternate as it's just basically a change in color, which is red. I know, red and black, again, how imaginative of me, but you gotta go with colors that fit the character. And any other color aside from red or black for this guy just was not going to work. I looked at silver, I looked at white, and they just looked too bright, you know. Everything about this guy screams aggression, so we had to go with the scarlet red here, and it actually stands out pretty well with the logos. Even though the logos have a lot of red in them, it's different shades, so they still kind of show up pretty well against the solid red leather of tights. So it all worked out in the end. Not much else to say here. No entrance gear because none is necessary for this guy. We definitely want to show off all of the details of his ink work and physique. And when he walks down to the ring, you know you're in for a battle, and you're probably going to get thrown around a lot. So, yeah, that is the Undisputed one for you folks. Back, bigger and better than ever for 2K18. And the second guy that I really wanted to get done as fast as possible is this man right here, the War Beast, Johnny Tama, one of the two newest and most highly touted students of the Togo Dojo, so disciples of Yoshi Togo here. And I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory what nationality he is, I hope, for you guys. But yeah, taking a look up and down, there is one element that I did not mention to you guys when I first introduced him last year, that being the face. That being the fact that his face morph is actually that of an Australian rugby footballer who goes by the name of Ryan Tongia. I hope I said that right. But yeah, you'll see the pictures on the side of your screen there. And, you know, I wanted to make another, how you say, Pacific Islander based claw, because aside from Tane Tua, don't have many of them. As a matter of fact, these are the only two that I have. I'm actually contemplating also creating a female from Samoa or Tonga or one of those islands out there. Work in progress. But yeah, like I had, I think I said this in passing over the course of last year. This is kind of an evolution of a character that I had made in the previous generations of the 2K games, not the 2K games, the WWE games, basically. And a lot of those elements actually got transferred into the character that is now Tane Tua, except for the fact that Tua is a heel, where I wanted to make a face type of character. So hence, we have Johnny Tama here, basically. So, as far as the look goes, obviously, a lot of the elements are taken from Finn Balor's attire, or the Demon King Finn Balor's attire, as in the kick pads and the knee pads, which kind of sell themselves because they already had teeth on them and everything like that, so no logo work necessary. However, the logo work that you see mostly is going to be on the trunks themselves, which again is a custom style that I added onto a font. And then the teeth is something I basically did some extraction on in Photoshop. Put it together and you got a really bestial look for him, which is exactly the type of look that I wanted to get. And once again, the emboss function just completes it perfectly. I mean, the texture looks like it's actually on the leather fabric itself, which makes it look that much more realistic. And I'm loving that element so much. I think I've used it on just about every character that I've made thus far. There are some exceptions, but where it works, in this case, it definitely works. So, up to the tattoos here. Obviously, some Samoan or Maori-based ink work going on here along the chest, back, and arms. Kind of self-explanatory, you know, just putting it all together with multiple stretches and things of that nature. Really wish that the wrap function would go across the shoulder, but it doesn't, unfortunately. I think I've documented that before. The fact that it wraps, but it does not wrap around the entirety of the arm from a vertical sense, means that you still have to use the typical multiple logo stretching around the arm technique that we've basically been doing since they implemented importing logos and pictures onto the Create Wrestler function. Still makes a good look, and it still is a good look, so no real complaints. Just one of those things that would have made things that much easier for me, and also freed up a lot more slots, the same way that the wrap function freed up that many more slots for me in making Ulrich, to where I could add even more logos to his attire if I saw fit to do it. So, the alternate attire here. Take a look at some of the elements. The first element that I'll point out, obviously, is the front text, which, again, is a part of a very, very specific tradition down there in those islands amongst the Samoan nation. These are the first words of the haka, which is kind of a battle cry, war cry, ritual thing that they would do before they go into battle. And in modern times, it's something that a lot of teams from those regions do before they begin a game of rugby or football. That's soccer for all you American folks out there. And it translates to I may live or I may die. That's deep. Once again, I would love for them to have had some version of the haka or the Siva Tau, which is another similar war cry ritual that is done. The Usos used to do it way early in their careers. Obviously, they're a completely different animal now from when it was that they first came along in WWE. So, unfortunately, that's not even in the realm of possibility anymore. But it would have been damn cool because I would have him doing that at the start of a match, just to like really get into his opponent's heads. But yeah, you know, what can you do? It's just one of those things. If I were creating the game, or if I were making a game, then I would have that as an element to this character. But yeah, as it stands, he's just a really, really big, strong Samoan guy who can hit you real hard and throw you real far. And yeah, that's enough for me. I'm really high on these two guys, as in both Tama here and Eric Ulrich, to the point where, spoiler alert, I have pretty much came to the decision that one of these two men are going to succeed Christian Phoenix as the XWA World Heavyweight Champion. I don't know which one yet, but when it is that Phoenix loses the belt, one of these two guys will be getting the belt. So that's something to ponder as you see them going along their paths in the XWA, which will be very, very successful paths. I hope I haven't spoiled that much for you guys, because now it'll be a situation where it's like watching a Roman Reigns match where it's like, we already know he's gonna win. We'll just watch it anyway because it's entertaining. But yeah, you know, these guys here are the perfect example of the future of the XWA, so to speak. You know, perfect examples. And yeah, that's part of the reason, a big part of the reason why I decided I wanted to make them first, as opposed to a lot of my more established characters. With the exception, of course, of the next three characters that you are about to see, who are my most established characters, and also I decided I wanted to make first because that's what the people want. Boom. Yep. The masked monsters are back once again. And we kick things off, of course, with the enforcer of the group known as the Riot Squad. This, of course, is Crossbonez. And might I say, he has not looked any better. Thanks in great part to a lot of new gear added onto the game, courtesy of the authors of Pain and Sanity, to which the boots there, I think those are Eric Young's boots, I'm not too sure, could be any one of them, but doesn't really matter. They look sick with the straps and everything like that. That's just freaking awesome right there. And of course the pants with the knee pads, these are AOP pants. I just kind of darkened the AOP logo. You don't really see it much in game, but it's there. Didn't want to cover it up though. And then of course the vest. That right there is the Crossbones logo, a variation of the Crossbones logo for the Marvel character of the same name, who obviously has some inspiration in the actual creation of this particular character many moons ago. Crossbones, well, the entire Riot Squad obviously are amongst some of my oldest creations, dating all the way back to WWE Warzone, WWF Warzone, excuse me, so far ago that they had a different last name. And so they've been brought forward over the years and have seen many different transformations, and I can honestly say that they've never looked better than they do this year. And that's saying something, considering the fact that they looked pretty damn good last year. And I've actually surpassed that with a little bit of help. Anyway, back to the logo here. There is an embossing going on here, which, once again, really makes it stand out, because it actually legitimately looks like this logo was spray painted onto the vest. Like, you can see the texture. Maybe you can't see the texture all the way because YouTube is going to severely dumb down the quality of this video when it converts, but it's noticeable if you take a closer look in the menu itself. You see kind of like a puffing or a raised effect going on with the finish of the logo, to where it actually looks like it was painted on, either spray painted or just slapped on with regular old opaque white paint, which is damn awesome. I mean, I'm gushing over such a simple thing, but it's just the details that put things in that type of perspective to make them look really, really freaking cool. So, we'll scroll up here once again to the mask. This is actually a skull logo that I pulled from Community Creations on PlayStation 4. You've probably seen it if you scroll through using the search tag skull. I saw it, and instantly my search for a mask design was found. Like, zero effort whatsoever. It's got a kind of a mixture of the Jason mask and the Punisher mask there with the teeth on the bottom. And yeah, that's just awesome. Basically slapped that onto the skull mask, and I colored the eyes dark, as in all black, because we don't want their eyes to show. That was the one element that I wanted to maintain, that from a distance you didn't want to see their eyes. I wanted them to look as monstrous and faceless and evil and demonic as possible. And yeah, I found a good combination there, specifically on the fact of the same limitations that have suddenly befalled my creations as it is that I pointed out with Kimiko as far as masks go. So I have to find a workaround, and I found a workaround. Let me scroll up real quick here to the hair, because obviously, for your own reference, if you happen to be making any lucha or masked wrestlers, there is one mullet, the one with the kind of crew cut on the top and the short but shoulder length hair on the back. That is the only long hair that will work for masks. Everything else will have that little stop buster sign on it. And yeah, that pisses me off, because you could use any hair before last year and now you can't. And it's like, why? That's the question of the day. Why? But once again, work around, and we like the results. So there you have it. So for the entrance attire, I decided to continue with the Authors of Pain type of vibe and give him the Authors of Pain face mask as his entrance gear. That has the old skull look that I had on his mask from last year on it. So it's kind of like a continuation of things. So he has a mask over a mask, if you can ponder that. He takes one off and then there's another one, and it's like, okay, this guy's got some things going on, pretty much. And that's pretty much the only element. I mean, I just gave him the mask because I wanted to use that old Kane mask somewhere. It's also on his alternate attire as a main element that you'll see in a couple of seconds. But yeah, it's just really, really ominous look that I wanted to have for him. And we definitely succeeded in pulling it off here with these new parts that they added into the game. Plus the fact that his physique is pretty damn large. Yeah. This guy isn't a monster among men. He's just a monster. Period. You will also notice, I haven't actually showed it to you guys, but he's got ink work going on there underneath it all. Pretty much the same premise, same little layout that he had last year. If you've watched my feature of him in Volume 1 of the weekly upload updates, you'll see I stripped him down and showed you the looks, but it's basically the same thing. There's no real need to show that to you one more time. You can always just download him and take a look for yourselves. And this here is his alternate attire, which is basically a variation of his primary attire from last year, with the exception of the fact that I used the Jason skull mask on the Kane mask, as opposed to the other skull design that I used on the entrance gear for his primary attire. So we're kind of mixing things up here a bit. Still got the Crossbonez logo spray painted onto the front of the jumper here. And aside from that, it's just really, really simplistic. He looks like he belongs in a horror movie. And that's exactly the type of thing that I wanted to do for him. You know, I wanted to make him as monstrous as possible. He also kind of looks like he would be a member of Slipknot, like the Lost member. Don't know what instrument he'd play. He'd probably play drums. He looks like a drummer, you know. It's the arms. It's gotta be the arms. But yeah, like I said, the Kane mask is actually an element of the attire. It's not entrance gear, so it's actually covering the other mask, which is still the same mask, but it's just he wears this mask full time in this attire. So not much variation otherwise from that, just kind of a throwback to the 2K17 look that has a bit of differentiation to it. If anything, I might add something to the back at some point, maybe. Not really necessary. This is just me kind of brainstorming out loud here. But yeah, otherwise, Bones is looking really, really good this year. They all are. You'll see that in a couple of seconds when I show you the other two. But yeah, they're going to do some very, very evil things to very, very evil people, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Because I know how much you love those ominous close-ups. Indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2018 version of the artist formerly known as Happy Face, now going simply by the name of Blaque. And yes, he is as bizarre and just plain out there as he was when I made him last year. Probably even more so, considering the fact that we got a little bit more of Nakamura's moves and mannerisms that I have sprinkled heavily into his moveset. So yeah, let's scroll in a little bit again, and this piece here, this artwork on his shirt, is another piece I pulled from Community Creations that just spoke to me. Like, you gotta put this on this guy. As you recall, last year his shirt had a logo from one of Bray Wyatt's shirts. I was thinking about adding text again, like some kind of scribbled message, but then I saw this and I'm like, that looks cool. Like, that looks like he's got a freaking demon in his belly. Like, he will literally eat you. Not from the mouth, but from the stomach. And yeah, that works. Like, seriously, to the point where if I could actually find where this logo came from originally, I would put it on him as a tattoo. On the stomach. Like, actually on the stomach. Like, make it look like he's got freaking teeth coming out of his belly. So, maybe I'll do a Google search on that. Well, we'll see. Anyway, much like Crossbonez, a lot of his look is retained from 2K17, obviously. The fact that even though his name is Blaque, he wears all white. It's a bit of symbolism there for you, because he is a very, very sinister and evil human being, despite the fact that he's wearing almost angelic looking colors. So, the pants here, I'm thinking these are Bray Wyatt's pants or a version of Bray Wyatt's pants. I don't know, but I like the hatch marks that are on there. It kind of look like he's crossing off victims. That might be an element that I continue to elaborate on with the character. As a matter of fact, I think that will be an element that I carry on with the character. So, yeah, nice little subtle touch there. And then the armband here, this one here, courtesy of Sanity, that looks damn good. Like, I wish I had found that earlier. And I actually do really wish that they had this on the freaking females. Like, I don't understand why there's some parts on the male CAWS that are not on the female CAWS, because that sleeve right there could work for a couple of characters that I make. But, what can you do? Wishful thinking, I guess. Anyway, back up here to the mask. Once again, blood spatter on it. That's another piece from Community Creations. And then the scratched up text that pretty much tells you what it is you should do when you see him gyrating towards the ring. But you can't, because I don't know why. People just don't have the good sense to run away from a man like this. But, yeah. Anyway, so the tattoos, pretty much same elements, same look, same stuff. Just revamped with subtle differences for the 2K18 game. Now let's take a look at his entrance gear. So once again, we got the white fur coat going on. That just really, really completes the look. I mean, something so simple just really, really pops out and makes it look that much more incredibly unorthodox is the word that I can come up with. The best word that I can come up with. I mean, there's just something eerie and unexplainable about him. Especially when you see him coming out with all white, but then you see the teeth and this blood spatter on the mask, and it's like, like you can make an American Horror Story season out of this guy alone. As a matter of fact, I'm actually right here, I'm going to superimpose his ring entrance for you with the music that I found. Brand new music that you obviously hear in the background, but you're going to hear it in its full context, and you're going to see for yourselves that there's just, he gives me goosebumps. And not the good kind of goosebumps. So we have the alternate attire here, which is pretty much an alternate of the same type of elements. We use the old school Undertaker top with that tie going on there. Blood spatter on the side. I thought about putting it on the pants too, but went against it. Just a nice little subtle touch to make it not look all black. I mean, all white, excuse me. Then we got the black mask going on there. This is... well, both versions of him are pretty damn evil and sinister, but this particular look, when he comes out with it, you know somebody's going to die. I mean, he's got the red coming off the lips, kind of look like he's dribbling blood out of his lips. And yeah, it's again just really, really sadistic and sick and twisted, and all these things basically describe the character Blaque to a T. And you're going to see it even more in the game and in the XWA shows, because you've already kind of seen some of those seeds being sown if you've watched the previous XWA live show or video that I have featuring him versus Marco Juventus. That's going to all play into something that is going to happen in the 2K18 XWA season. That's really going to explain a whole lot regarding why he transformed from being just a psychotic clown-like character into whatever this is. So yeah, I'm building on story here, and he is very much one of my story characters that is going to have a lot of explanations happening over the course of the 2018 season. So in all truth, he's going to be a central character to a lot of things going on, and in very surprising ways, without spoiling anything. So yeah, let's take a look at the entrance gear now. So I don't have any idea whose jacket this is, but it matches the color scheme. That was what I wanted to do with the black lapel and everything like that. So yeah, that's what we went with, and it's pretty simple. Also looks really good in that same intro, just as an alternate. And yeah, you know, it's just everything worked out so well with this character, and it's like he is one of, if not the most original character that I've made over the course of the past couple of years in these games, as far as the brand new characters, or even the older ones, really, because, you know, everyone else, for the most part, I've used elements from other places or other people or other characters. This one really came from, I have no idea. I mean, there was this one character, this one guy that was in CAWS shows that went by the name of Monroe, that I kind of took some cues off of and then just went overboard with it. And this is the end result here. And he has evolved into his own animal entirely. And how much of an animal, you'll just have to find out for yourselves. And last but certainly not least, the ringleader of them all, the mastermind, the king himself. This, of course, is Riot 2K18 version. And much like everybody else you've seen in this video, he hasn't looked better. And yeah, I mean, just take a look and you can pretty much agree with that sentiment. Let's get real quick into the design elements here. This right here, the shirt logo, is one that I used before, but I just changed the text there. That is a direct reference to a term that is used frequently in Game of Thrones that my brother suggested would work very, very well for the King. And yeah, it most certainly does. I've actually been trying to find some kind of move that involves making the opponent kneel before he hits them with something. And the only one that really does that is a Shining Wizard, but I don't want to put a Shining Wizard on him because he's not the type of guy who uses those type of moves. So, the search continues, but I will find some move, hopefully in some point in DLC, that makes opponents actually bend the knee to the King. Anyway, back up to the mask here. Once again, this is another one that I found on Community Creations. Kind of a, well, this is a bleach mask. This is Ichigo Kurisaki's hollow mask. And one of his many renditions of hollow Ichigo that worked. I actually used this for his mask in 2K16, was it? Yeah. That was when you couldn't use masks at all with long hair. So I had to use one of the Kane masks and put that on it, and it kind of worked out pretty well. So we brought that back. Thank you to whoever it is who uploaded it again. But obviously, I'm going to have to find the design myself so I have it for my own personal use for the next version of the game, just in case whoever uploaded it doesn't upload it again. It's one of the things I have against using other people's stuff, but sometimes it just looks so good that you have to use it, so that's what we did. And once again, you see the absence of any kind of emotion whatsoever on the face, because I used a face paint, colored it as dark as possible, and once again made the eyes all black, just with the red rings around it. I could make it all black if I wanted to, but the rings just kind of have a nice look to them, as opposed to it just being completely faceless. But either way, like I said in the case of Crossbonez, the intent was to make it so from a distance it looked like you couldn't see their eyes. And yeah, we pulled that off. Down to the pants. This again is another element that I've used on both Riot and Crossbonez frequently in the current generation of WWE games. It goes on Riot this time on the pants. This was actually before I found out about those Author of Pain pants, but I decided to stick with this look here because the design would actually cover the knee pad, those metal pads on the knees there, and we didn't want that. So Crossbonez maintains a kind of Authors of Pain type of look, and Riot has kind of a Roman Reigns type of look, as if there's any difference whatsoever. But yeah, that's the primary, and let's look at the alternates. So for the alternate attire, we went with the Bane theme here. You got the actual Roman Reigns vest going on there, and the mask in this attire is the Bane design that I used for his primary attire last year. So again, we have a situation of his secondary attire being kind of a throwback variation of his primary from 2K17. And yeah, that wrap function, boy, it works so good, as does the embossing, because now all that tubing and stuff like that actually looks like it's there and not the illusion of being there, with it being a very, very high quality image. There's actual some texturization going on there, which makes it stand out that much more. The logo here, once again, another logo that I've used on different versions of his attire. This one being a variation of his right arm tats, which I'll show right here, which is basically a bunch of skulls of fallen kings hanging up as trophies. Kind of self-explanatory there. And also almost autobiographical of Riot and his long illustrious history in the game of wrestling and combat in general. I made a bit of a variation on the right arm, or left arm, excuse me, because I failed at remembering what tattoo I used for his left tattoo. It was like a miscellaneous tattoo that I found, and I don't remember what it is that I named it when I saved it. So, instead, I went and found another one of Dizio Olivier's pieces and decided to make that into his left tattoo. And the result is a billion times better, in my opinion. Because just the details, man. The details. You can pretty much agree with that, just looking at it from a distance. Anyway, same story going on with the legs, except for the fact that we changed up the skulls to a red skull variation, like multiple skulls here. This was a design that I had pulled from the internet and was going to use on Dollface, but I decided to go with the single skull instead because this looked a little too busy on her top. It works perfectly on Riot, however, so we decided to go with that. So, borrowing elements from other people and just putting it into good use. That's pretty much what I do with a lot of my characters. If only I could remember what I named some of them when I save them. Anyway, now let's look at his entrance attire for this particular year. So with this attire being Bane themed, I wanted to go full on Dark Knight Rises, or is it Returns? I forgot which one it was. But the one that had Bane in it, played by Tom Hardy, where he had that sick kind of like leather shearling coat going on. Unfortunately, they don't have anything close to that using that type of collar. And the closest thing I could do was put a, like, no, you couldn't even do that. I've tried to do many, many different variations of creating something that looks similar to it, but in the end, we had to go with the old Terminator coat that they kept in the game, even though the old school Terminator isn't in the game. I just colored it brown, and unfortunately I have to stick with the black collar, because if I color that white, then everything else black, as in the back here, would also be white, and that's just not a good look. So, it's close. It's pretty close. I might do other variations, like the bubble vests and stuff like that, because those are actually things that I've used for entrance gear for him before. It's just that I stopped using entrance gear because I wanted to show off the logo work on the shirts and stuff like that more. But for this particular case, I wanted to go full Bane. So that's what you get for this specific attire. There will more than likely be variations on the attire that I make for Riot, like different logos that I found that I've said I was going to use. So there'll be updates in the future for him, and those will use all different types of different elements. But for the introduction, this right here is what you get, and yeah, that is the King back once again to cause all kinds of problems for one specific red-headed dude. And so I kind of hid them off in the start of the video, but yeah, like I said before, all 5 of these new fellas are uploaded and available for download on Community Creations. Riot, Crossbonez, Blaque, Ulrich, and Johnny Tama. Just as before, I'll give you the details. Riot miraculously didn't use any DLC, so everybody will be able to get him. Yay! Crossbonez, not so much. Because, you know, Lars Sullivan is a beast. And I had to use some of those moves. So, yeah. You'll need the NXT pack to get him. Blaque also features some DLC content. I couldn't really tell you which it is, though, because I don't even remember. But, yeah. Yeah. Ethan Ulrich, same story as Crossbonez. A lot of power moves, courtesy of Sullivan and Drew McIntyre in his moveset. A little bit of Batista in there too. So yeah, you'll need those. Every relevant DLC pack currently available on 2K18. And the same story goes with Johnny Tama. So pretty much DLC is going to be required for everybody except for Riot, which I'm kind of surprised at right now. But hey, you know, not bad, if I say so myself. As you will already obviously know, then I've reached gold status since I've got 15 slots open here. So, these 5 gentlemen are going to be available for I don't know how long. It won't be a week though. It'll probably be longer than that, because the slots I'll be using for future content will all be occupied by the ladies here. That will all be replaced as of my next video, which will feature more female creations that I have yet to upload. As I stated, I have already preemptively completed the entire Diamond Division and have not uploaded all of them, namely because I had to re-upload these gals, excuse me, for the benefit of those of you who missed out on them the first time. So these slots will be replaced by more female CAWS that will be featured in episode 5 of the weekly upload update next week. Who they are, you'll just have to tune in to find out. But in any case, to get any of these creations, the search tags, as always, are going to be 3XCAW, that is 3 followed by the letters XCAW, or XWA. Now, as far as the mini updates, I'm actually going to kind of sort of take a break from any creations over the course of the next couple of days. That way I can hunker down and finally finish the later rounds of the Warfield Invitational and finally get that out of the way. And then I will continue to focus on the men's roster and filling them out. But like I said at the start, these 5 in particular, I really wanted to get done as fast as possible and out there for you guys, because they're probably the most popular male CAWS that I made in 2K17. We'll see if that carries over in 2K18. So yeah, if you got the DLC, go get them. If you don't got the DLC, get the DLC, then go get them. And with that said, thanks for watching. Once again, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you are subscribed, make sure you hit that little bell button next to the subscribe button so that you are notified whenever it is that new videos are uploaded. There will be the Warfield Invitational, there will be some more Call University tutorials, and then there will of course be the actual 2018 season of the XWA, coming as soon as it is that I can create enough characters to be able to run shows. So, look forward to all that. In the meantime, that's going to do it for episode 4 of Weekly Upload Update Volume 2. Until the next video, this is Obi, aka 3X, signing off. See ya! Yeah.